Hello everyone, we will study today ninth physics, that is laws of motion. Then we will first start Newton's first law of motion. So before going to start the first law of motion, you have to know the two terms rest and motion. So what is rest? A body is said to be rest if it does not change its position with respect to its immediate surrounding. So means that body does not change its position. Now come to motion. A body is said to be in motion if it changes its position with respect to its immediate surrounding. With respect to surrounding, it changes the position. So now you are in doubt why I told with respect to immediate surrounding. Because we can tell a body is rest, it does not change position, rest. If it changes position, motion, but no. That is why you are telling this. Try to understand, because rest, motion, these two terms are called relative terms. These are called relative terms. Why? Because when you are asking a body is rest or motion, you have to tell with respect in another something. So give an example. Suppose, see one example, that these are compartments of a train. Suppose two men are sitting like this. Suppose A and another B, they are sitting inside the train. Another man standing outside the train. So now to come to the observation. You see the observation what? Observation to B. So B is observation to B by A and by C. So observation by C. So when C looks B, that B is moving with the velocity of train. So B is moving, that is in motion. B is in motion with respect to C. Now come to the observation of A. That A, C is that the B is in rest, because both are traveling with the same velocity of the train, same velocity. So A saw that B is in rest. So how do you understand this? You saw this is that an object can be in motion with relation to another object, and it can be rest with with respect to another object. So that B is motion with respect to C, B is rest with respect to A. So they are called relative terms. Now come to our topic, that Newton's first law. So what happened? What is the cause of motion? Actually, force causes the motion on a body. When force acts on a body, it starts motion. Suppose if there is no external force, no resistant force, what happens? The body continues the state of motion. So now come to Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law of motion states that every body continues to be in state of rest or inform motion in a straight line unless acted upon by an external force. So how to understand? Means what? If a body is in rest, so it continues the state of rest unless an external force is applied. If a body is in motion, it continues the state of motion unless an force is applied to it. So actually what happened? You got two things. The first law of motion tells about two terms. That is, one is force, another is inertia. You know about force. Force already have read before. What is force? Force is an external agent. It can change or tends to change the state of rest or a uniform motion. It can change the shape, size or dimension. And you know before that force two types. One is contact force, another is non-contact force. Now come to that another term. That first law, Newton's first law of motion defines inertia. So what is inertia? So as you define inertia, the first law is otherwise known as law of inertia. Law of inertia. So the Newton's first law of motion is known as law of inertia. So what is inertia? Actually, inertia is a property of everybody. That everybody wants to remain in the original state. Okay. If any force is not acted upon it, they continue the original state. Now come to the definition of inertia. What is inertia? The inherent property of a body by virtue of which it resists any change in state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line on its own is called inertia. So it is an inherent property of everybody. So inertia actually depend upon mass. If mass more, inertia also more. Therefore inertia is direct proportional to mass. So understood? So if a heavy body has more mass and a lighter body has less mass in comparison. So remember, very important thing, that Newton's first law is known as law of inertia. Now come to the types of inertia. Types of inertia. Actually inertia three types. Inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. Now come to what is inertia of rest. If a body is at rest, it will remain at rest unless an external force is applied to change its state. This is inertia of rest. Come to discuss some examples. A passenger in a bus tends to fall backward when the bus starts suddenly. Suppose the bus starts suddenly, the passenger inside the bus, they fall backward or tends to fall backward. Why? Because their lower part they move with the bus, but the upper part they are in state of rest. So due to inertia of rest, they fall backward. Another example, on shaking the branches of a tree, the fruits fall down. So fruits are on rest, due to inertia of rest, that the fruits fall down. Another example, dust can be removed from a hanging carpet by beating it with a stick. So hanging carpet, if you beat by a stick, what happens? That carpet comes in motion, but the dust fall down. Okay, this is inertia of rest. So many examples are there. These all examples are coming in the exam as give reason questions. Now come to inertia of motion. What is inertia of motion? If a body is in a state of motion, it continues the state of motion with same speed, same direction in a straight line unless an external force is applied to change its state. This is inertia of motion. So now come to some examples. Same example, bus example. A passenger in a moving bus tends to fall forward when the bus suddenly stops. When it suddenly stops, that due to inertia of motion, the passenger will fall forward. Okay. Another example come to, then a cyclist does not come to rest suddenly after he stops pedaling. If he stops pedaling, the cycle suddenly does not stop. After some time, it stops because due to inertia of motion. Another example, an athlete runs a certain distance before taking a long jump. When he is taking long jump, he runs a certain distance to make his body in motion. So therefore, he can take a long jump. Okay, these are the inertia of motion. Now come to inertia of direction. Inertia of direction means when force applied, the body changes the direction. Okay, this is inertia of direction. That is very easy, not in your course. So you have to read inertia of rest and inertia of motion. Next, we will go to second law of motion next video. Okay, thank you.